There it is, folks. We are back again. We've got one more down. This is the final segment for the night. David, why don't you go ahead and take us home, buddy?
Welcome back, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of the Uncommon Man podcast. So tonight, me and Mike, we're going to go ahead and crank out this last installment of the fantasy football draft. I just want to let y'all know we already knocked ours out a couple of days ago. But for anybody who's kind of bringing up the tail end because the season starts, Denver Broncos play Monday on the 14th. So if you're kind of still, building up your roster, or if you haven't had your fantasy draft yet, hopefully this right here will kind of take you over the edge.
That is correct. And ladies and gentlemen, don't forget, as per Autodromo, please like, subscribe, share. Make sure you tell your friends about us, tell your family about us. Come jump on board. I mean, we're always looking for new people, new interesting topics, anything that you want to discuss. We're always out in the open. You can follow us on Twitter. We have the links. That'll be down there right above the comment section below. And then, so if without further ado, if you're good, man, we'll just get right into it.
Let's roll.
All right, folks. So before we get started into this, buddy, I just wanted to give an honorable mentions out. So there was a couple teams that I wanted to say are good sleeper options if you need just a random defense for one of these weeks if your team's on a bye. The only reason that there is one team or two teams that aren't going to make this, one is pretty much self-explanatory because they're still an up-and-coming team. The other team is because of a current defensive coordinator they have. So my depth that I have, that I believe in the team, I just don't believe in the defense, Arizona Cardinals. I think the Cardinals are, for one, they're healthy. The only thing that they're kind of lacking at is the cornerback position, but the rest of the depth in that team, the defense is phenomenal. Obviously, they impressed upon the defense in the draft this year. I just don't believe in Vance Joseph, dude.
No, absolutely. Like anybody who's been a Denver Broncos fan, you've been watching the Denver Broncos. I mean, we know firsthand. Okay, we've seen this. We've seen him in action. We have seen him as a head coach. We've seen him. We see him coach the defense. I mean, they lacked in so many different areas. So, but we kind of have to see what is he going to do on the defense when he's not having to do both. But, I mean, if you look at his track record, I mean, it hasn't been the greatest thing in the world. But, I mean, he's littered with talent on his defense. I mean, so, he can kind of swing either way. But, for people like us, we're glad that he's not running our defense anymore.
No, dude, I never understood from point A. Dude, even in Cincinnati, okay, they had a halfway decent cornerbacking unit. He was a halfway decent defensive backs coach. Went to Miami. They were one of the worst defenses in the NFL. And then we plugged him into a head coaching position. Our defense completely dive-bombed, which, I mean, let's not kid ourselves. Denver's defense, after that Super Bowl happened, Super Bowl 48, that defense turned 180 degrees, man. It became one of the most lethal in the NFL. And literally, John Elway has built a monstrous D since that point in time. But then we ended up ostracizing that guy and getting him the hell out of there. And then Arizona picked him up. And they were horrible last year with a pretty solid team. I mean, they were ranked like 28th in the league, and their defense wasn't bad. I mean, you got Chandler Jones as a pass rusher. He was the number two in sacks last season. Budda Baker, they just gave him that like groundbreaking contract. So they've got talent on there, but they just don't have the leadership they need to really mesh that entire group together. And I couldn't believe they gave him a second year at the position.
Well, Van Joseph's problem is, and we've seen this before, he doesn't play to his players. He wants his players to play his defense. Right. Which, in Denver, we have such a high standard because we went from Wade Phillips down to Vance Joseph. And we already know how Wade Phillips was. He'll let our outside linebackers, pin your ears back and go get the quarterback. Hey, cornerbacks, lock that motherfucker down. That's how we operated. But see, Van Joseph come in. No, he doesn't want to do that. He wants people to play in his system. It's like that ultimate ego thing, right? Like he thinks, hey, my system works the best, so I'm going to take a Super Bowl defense and I'll make them fit in my system. No, bro, you adjust to them. They don't need to be adjusting to you because what they've been doing been working.
I just don't think he's that smart of a guy. Me personally, I don't.
I mean, I didn't see him as this leader of men. Fuck no.
No,
Fuck that.
ever.
That dude
At
lost
any
so
point,
much respect. Fuck that.
there was no point in time where I was on board for that guy, bro. I mean, we had to sit there and endure 2 years of him. It was terrible. I am, however, going to talk about the other team now that I do believe in the coach and I do believe in the staff, and I think they're an up-and-comer. And this is one that actually falls off the Bill Belichick bread van. You want to guess who that is?
Miami.
You got it, baby. My
Yes,
man.
sir.
I believe in
sir.
Miami, dude. I like what Brian Flores is doing down there. I think that, but not this year. This year they're going to be decent. I think by next year they're going to be a competitive team in that division.
Absolutely. Without a doubt, I believe in Flores. I believe in what they did during the offseason. I mean, they made some very, very smart moves. I like it.
Yeah, I think, like I said, that's one of those deep teams that I won't be shocked if midway through the season they've got 4 or 5 wins under their belt. I mean, they could bomb or they could do better. But I mean, considering how up against their backs were up against a wall last year, the way that they came out and still ended up number 5 in the draft, even with the whole tank for Tua facade that they had put up, I mean, that was pretty damn impressive, man.
Mm-hmm. So let me ask you this. Do you think that Fitzmagic is going to ink him out, 4 or 5 wins? Or do you think ultimately getting Tua in the game is going to get them where they need to be?
I think Fitzpatrick's always going to get at least 4 or 5 wins. I mean, he even did that in Tampa Bay back when they had the Jameis Winston tussle going on between him and Winston. But I don't know. I really like the approach of starting Fitzpatrick for the first handful of weeks. You already know he's going to bomb. It's not if, it's when. But at the same time, you still let Tua get a little bit of that extra healing in his body. Let him recover just a little bit more. Just that's what he needs. Let him recover off that major surgery just a little bit more. I know he's healthy. I know he's been doing fine. But also let him see from field perspective what game speed is in the NFL. I know Alabama's a prolific team, but it's still the NCAA. There's plenty of Alabama players that end up bombing when they come into the NFL. Hopefully not Jerry Jeudy. But
God forbid, not that motherfucker.
Hopefully not Jerry Jeudy. Don't you dare. But yeah, so like I said, I like what Miami's doing, man. I got to be honest, I do believe in what they got going on down there.
Okay. Sounds good. All right, so we're going to start this off number 10. I have the Cleveland Browns. You have the Baltimore Ravens. Okay. Why Baltimore Ravens at number 10?
So I think Lamar Jackson had, arguably one of the best quarterbacking seasons of all time last year. The guy was fantastic. He reminded me of Michael Vick with maybe a little bit more arm talent out the gate. But at the end of the day, his passing still wasn't fantastic. I mean, he only threw for like 3,200 yards. The guy was basically a running back. He was like I said, he was like a modern embodiment of Michael Vick. It was really impressive what he did. I think losing Earl Thomas, whether or not the hell that guy was a head case, he was still a big locker room presence for that team. And for a dude that's basically been a perennial Pro Bowler, I mean, that's a huge loss. They did okay. They did pretty good in the draft. They were one of the top, they were arguably like the top 3 best drafters. So they're going to be good, but those guys are still really young. So you're losing that veteran presence. And I think that offensively, they didn't really get anybody that's going to be a game changer as a wide receiver. So I don't really think that they opened up the offense any more than they had last season. So I think with it being a symbiotic circle between the offense and the defense, I think the defense is going to end up suffering this year as well as the offense.
Okay, that's fair. All right, so I went with the Cleveland Browns. So all things in Cleveland kind of leaves you still with the head scratcher. I mean, they went so many years at not only top draft picks. I mean, sometimes they doubled up. They've gotten multiple number 1 draft picks in the first round. So at some point, they have to pop. They have to show up. And let's be honest, we're kind of getting real close to that threshold to where those first round picks, their contracts are almost up. Myles Garrett, they had to, fork over big money to pay him, but you have some other people that are coming up as well. And all, I do think this is where we see the turnaround of the Cleveland Browns under new management. But at the same time, we still have to have a realistic perspective of things. So I'm going to start them at 10.
I like it, buddy. Yeah, and if anybody's paying attention right now, basically the graphics guy is a complete Muppet. The Browns and the Ravens ranking needs to be swapped. So not quite sure who that is. But yeah, the Browns 2019 ranking, they were 20th and the Ravens were 4th. I'm going to hope that that individual didn't make multiple mistakes. But all right, man, on to the next one.
All right. All right, number 9. All right, sir, you have the Kansas City Chiefs. You want to explain that?
Yeah. So, I mean, this is all predicated on if Mahomes stays healthy. That was the only reason they struggled really about third of the season through when he went down with that leg injury for a handful of weeks after their battle with Denver. And then, I mean, they came back strong and finished out the year. They ended up finishing ranked 14th. Their defense, the reason that I didn't rank them higher, which I know a lot of people are going to say, well, they won the Super Bowl. But, I mean, throughout the regular season, they weren't really fantastic at all. They just really turned it up at the end of the season. So when you're playing 13 to 16 weeks in a league, you need a team that's going to be consistent. And the Chiefs will be okay. I don't think that they're going to be groundbreaking.
Okay. So I have the Indianapolis Colts at number 9, which, if you see the rank, they kind of rank number 8. The difference between last year and this year, well, now you have a gunslinger quarterback. Granted, yes, he is older, but you have to look at it like this. We're used to seeing this guy twice a year. Okay. And now, so we know what he's capable of. You put him in a dome, you put him behind that stout offensive line, and he does not have the injury problems that he had while with the San Diego, right? So I think it's going to allow the defense to really pin their ears back and really go after people. From you talking about from Hooker, Leonard, and they just picked up Buckner. That can get really ugly there. So I have him at number 9.
I like it, bro. And once again, the graphics guy failed us because these were supposed to be swapped. So Kansas City was 8th last year.
Asshole.
And the Colts were 14th. So, yeah, I'll just go ahead and press on. All right, did I get this? Yay, this one's right. Okay, cool. All right, so we're back in the New York groove. All right, buddy. So tell me why you chose the Vikings.
All right, so I have the Vikings here. I believe in their defense. I mean, I like their defense, unlike their fucking offense. So I think it was just a solid pick at number 8. As far as fantasy rankings, I don't think you can go wrong because if you look, they do rank number 6. I don't believe in Cousins. So they kind of dropped some back just a little bit for me. I mean, that guy is fucking shit. But that's why you dropped him back.
And they just massively overpaid that guy too. That's the best part. So I got the Rams. I don't know how that team's holding together right now. They were ranked number 5. That's probably because of the fact that they still had a pretty solid offense last year. I don't think they have – they lost a bunch of talent to free agency, and then they also had to trade away to make up cap space. And then now they gave Ramsey that gigantic contract, which I think now he's the 5th highest paid defensive player.
I believe so. I haven't really looked at the full details of it, but it's pretty high.
I know they've got Aaron Donald on there and now Ramsey. So you think about the 2 highest paid defensive players out of 5 in the NFL are on the same team. Like, that's fucking insanity to me. Sorry, guys, if you guys are listening around your kids. That's insanity to me, just for the simple fact that you completely you just handicap your entire team. And for a cornerback, I mean, he's really good, but there's nothing about him that says that he needs to be paid the amount of money he got. So, but that's why they went from 5 to 8 for me. I think they'll still be pretty good just because of what they do have left on the defense, but the team's not going to be that good this season. Number 7.
All right. So I got the Kansas City Chiefs here. With their defense, last year Juan Thornhill got hurt. He had a pretty significant injury. And now, of course, a whole all-season pass. He should be back. I mean, he is a game changer for that defense. But you lost Bashard Breeland. I believe he's not even he's out of the NFL, right? At this point. So with the amount of points that with the amount of points that their offense can put up, and then with you getting key people back on your defense, it makes them, pretty scary. Especially for the Denver Broncos.
Yeah, they'll. I mean, they've pretty much had they've had the entire AFC West number for 6 years now. But yeah, so I went with the Bucks at number 7. This could go up. I'm not going to lie to you, just due to the fact of who they. First off, the Buccaneers are a talented crew. That is an underappreciated defense, man. Considering what they had to endure last year with Jameis Winston. A lot of people slept on that team, but you look at them, they were ranked 10th overall, and they were battling a dude who had 30 interceptions. Which is insane. Like that is top tier garbage. So they had to endure that. I mean, the lack of breaks that they were allowed to take in between snaps, I mean, it's just brutal. So now they've got a little consistency. They've got the GOAT on the other side of the ball right now. Losing Mike Evans kind of hurt him a little bit, but they're just going to get better. And Devin White, I really hope that he was going to be available to us at number 10 a couple of years ago, and he wasn't. Don't get me wrong, I'm not discrediting Noah Fant pick. That was awesome, but I still would have rather, if I had my top choice out of the entire draft, I would have taken Devin White. But we'll talk about that in a little bit. Number 6, and disclaimer. So I didn't look at any of David's picks before I made my own. So this is completely off the cuff. So there's no foul play in any of this. If we have matching spots on here, it's because we think alike. And without further ado, why don't you go ahead and give us your reasoning for this one, buddy?
Bills Mafia at number 6, and I did pick the Bills up for my fantasy league, so I was happy I was able to get them. I mean, hey, look, that whole team is doing good things, and I like what I see. Ed Oliver, him being in his second year, you got a lot of things shaping up, and then you do not have the dominance of the Patriots anymore. So, I mean, literally, this team can just pummel the shit out of the Patriots and really just our whole division in general. Yes, they may struggle and they may have a few hiccups with Miami, but for the most part, I think in their division is going to be Bills all the way.
I couldn't agree more, dude. And I think that this is going to be the next, at least for as long as Josh Allen continues to progress. I think this is going to be their division to lose.
For sure. All
right, buddy.
All right, number 5. So I have Baltimore. So Baltimore picked up one of my favorite Denver Broncos player of all time, Derek Wolfe. No, he's not going to be a starter. He's going to be more of a rotational piece. But still, I mean, you're still building up the stable to go after people. I think I think their offense – they picked up some pieces to where they're going to continue their success. And with their success on offense, then it allows their defense to kind of go in there and still ball out. I'm not so worried about them dropping Earl Thomas. Yes, he would have been a big locker room guy, but also there's something not right going on up there in the head, so fuck him.
F him right in the A.
Get him out of there.
So this is going to be my sleeper, and I'm sure I'm going to get crucified for this by a lot of people.
Did you adjust this? Wait. Did you adjust this after, or did we leave it from how we said it a couple weeks ago?
No, I
did you
just
adjust it for Clowney?
Yes, I did.
Okay.
But there is always the but. So Tennessee Titans were ranked 11th in D last year, and you think about the first 8 games of the season, they had Mariota at the helm. That team was not good. And then you're welcome, Titans fans, whoever's listening, for the fact that we ended up retiring that guy from your team and Tannehill took over. So you're welcome for that AFC championship berth. Like we're ever going to get credit for that. But after that defensive blowout that we had against them, they really seemed to turn it around. They didn't lose too much. I mean, Malcolm Butler was that was an interesting one. I was surprised. I thought they were going to bring him back. He didn't have a very good year, but he didn't have a terrible year either. I think he had a bunch of interceptions. I think he just got beaten coverage a lot too. Was the only thing about it. So he was a real dice roller when it came to whoever he was playing against. Which I'm going to assume is why Vrabel didn't bring him back. But either way, you're talking about a dude who's won 3 Super Bowls, running a team right now. Defensively, he knows what he's doing. I fully believe in the Titans. The picking up Clowney, so that's the only reason this bumped us up probably about another 2 slots for me was the only thing they didn't have was a really good pass rusher. And then they traded Jarrell Casey to us, so they were really anemic at the pass rush position from that point. So they went balls to the wall, ended up picking up Clowney, and I think they're back in contention now. Now, here's why this is a complete wild card at the number 5 slot and why you guys would be taking a massive risk on this one is just because of Clowney's injury history. So if Clowney goes down, they're back to really no pass rushers. I mean, they no longer have Wesley Woodyard. They let him walk in free agency, and that dude, we know as Broncos fans, was a leader of men, especially on the defense. So, so that's where I'm at that. Now that we're long-winded, on to number 4.
On number 4. Bro, I already had the Vikings. We already went over the Vikings for me.
Did we?
Yeah. It was a couple slides back, but I'll let you.
Oh, so you got Tampa Bay. I'm sorry.
Yeah. So this is flip-flop for us. So I believe I had Tampa Bay right here, and you got the Vikes. Hey, man, we gonna fucking free these.
We are not without fault on this one, ladies and gentlemen, in case you were
It's all good, though. It's all, but okay. So, serious note, Tampa Bay, I think Mike hit on good points when it comes to Tampa Bay. If you look at their defense, I mean, their defense was stacked last year, but again, you had Mr. 30 for 30 over there just throwing alley-oops to anybody and fucking everybody. Now you got somebody that's actually going to push the ball down the field, not make turnovers. And us as Broncos fans, we all know when you have a resting defense, a defense that is fresh, with fresh legs that can go out there and just really put the hammer to somebody, that makes the world of difference. So that's why I got them at number 4. And I believe I picked them up for our fantasy as well.
Nice. Yeah, well, since I completely screwed the pooch on this one, I have the Vikings at number 4 because I feel like they got better in the offseason. First off, defensively, they did great in the draft. They picked up a corner. I was looking at this earlier. I lost it. I'm so off my game now because I kept making these just bonehead.
We don't have no production guy. Okay, there's no production guy. It is us.
This is these bonehead errors, and my biggest problem is exactly my disclaimer at the beginning. I wrote this all down on one side, which was me, and I wrote him on the other. So as I was sitting here doing this, I was having to cross-reference from left to the right, and obviously it got lost in translation on a few of these. So
all good though.
But yeah, so the Vikings, I mean, they were 6 last year. I think they're going to be better this year. Inside linebacking core is Pretty decent. They've endured a couple injuries, not too bad. You can't go wrong with the Vikings, dude. Every single year they've been, top 10. So stick with it. Number
three, San Fran. How could you not go with San Fran pretty early on? If you look at their defense, then their defense got better. They picked up old boy from South Carolina, blanking on his name right now because we didn't get him. Okay, but we're going to keep on going. Kinlaw. Yeah, so they picked up Kinlaw in replacement of the Forrest Buckner. I mean, they still have just a plethora of talent on that fucking defense. So how could you not take them at 3?
2019 ranking number 1. So the only reason that they dropped for both of us, though, is the fact that they are injury riddled right now. They are beat up, and the season hasn't even started yet. So for a team that didn't have to go through any preseason games, they're in bad shape. The beginning of the year might be a little bit rough for your fantasy league, but they should be good. I believe in their defensive coordinator, Robert Sala's. I mean, the guy's a beast. He's already won a Super Bowl with Seattle. He almost won a Super Bowl with San Fran. I think he should be a head coach. I think there's a couple positions he should have taken this free agency, but we won't go into that. So, bam.
Okay, so again, this is a little bit premature. Okay, so we made this a couple weeks ago, and as you all know, Von Miller did go down. We're still waiting to see reports on if this is going to be season ending or will we get a second opinion, and will he be later on in the season?
So does that change your ranking on him?
Absolutely.
So where would you drop him to?
Instead of number 2, I would drop him about 5 or 6.
Okay.
I mean, easily. I mean, don't get me wrong. Yes, we have other talent at the outside linebacker position, but they are no Von Miller, period. Von Miller going down. I mean, that dude, if Von Miller gets in there, he starts getting a couple strip sacks, baby, that changes the momentum of the game really quick for our defense. So, unfortunate. Yes, we made this before he got hurt and before he went down. So, yes, I had him at number 2 because we pretty much had the whole gang back. We had Von Miller, we had Chubb, we had a beefed up defensive line. I like what we did in our secondary. Also, we had some surprise cuts to our inside linebacking core. We had some injuries. So, it's getting kind of rough. Definitely I would take them out of number 2 and I would push them a little bit later to about 5 or 6 for sure.
Gotcha. Well, I'm going to take the under on this one. I'll take the Steelers. They were ranked number 2 last year. I think they got better this year, both not necessarily in free agency, but in the draft. So shout out to Ryan Shazier. He retired today. I just want to let you know, dude, what you went through, what you endured, and just it shows how classy the Art Rooney and the Steelers organization are for the fact that they did everything they could to try and get you back on the field, buddy. Kudos to the Pittsburgh Steelers, man. Kyle, if you're listening, dude, shout out to you guys. I believe in your team, man. I'm excited for week 2. So, if anybody listens to the podcast, we will be doing live. Me and Kyle will be on there talking a bunch of jazz at each other. So, you guys will get to enjoy that. Dave is going to get on there too and make sure that we get held down.
You got 2 against 1. Kyle, it's going to be a rough night for you, sir.
No, dude, there's going to be like 4 or 5 of the Steelers fans that are going to be there just trashing the shit out of me. So I'm going to be out there on Rebus Island.
All right, man. We're going to jab back.
All
All right, so we're going to go to number 1.
Swapsies.
That's fair. Okay, so let me get your opinion. So if you have them Broncos at number 1, where would you rank them now?
I rank them today.
Explain.
Look, Von Miller is Von Miller is Von Miller is Von Miller. There is no replacement for that guy. That dude, what he brings to the team is an energy and a leadership that is unbelievable, dude. I mean, the guy's character is second to none. But what I do want to rehash is something that we had briefly touched on at the beginning, and that is the fact that I believe in Vic Fangio and I believe in John Elway when it comes and his staff when it comes to getting us the absolute most elite pass rushers in the NFL. And you want to look at them, Shaq Barrett last year, they let him walk in free agency, and he ended up leading the NFL in sacks. So you look at Malik Reed last year. The only one that's a struggle now because of this injury was Justin Hollins going to the Rams. But I'm really not too concerned about it, dude. I think you look at the sheer Pro Bowl players, the Pro Bowl-esque players that should have made it last year, they got snubbed. You know, Justin Simmons, Kareem Jackson. I believe in Michael Ojemudia. AJ Bouye this year is going to be brutal in this defense. You look at the inside linebackers, Alexander Johnson. He was the best inside linebacker in the NFL after he took over last year. Pro Football Focus already gave the stats on it. It wasn't even close. He was the best in coverage, and he was the best against the rush too. So you put that across from – you give him a halfway decent inside linebacker that they just traded for, and apparently they've been trying to get on waivers for the last year. That guy from Seattle, was it Culliver or something? I'm telling you, dude, this team's still brutal, man. They're dangerous. Derek Tuska, there's a reason why they had already, even before the Von Miller injury, had already covered him so that way he couldn't be picked up. He's a – whatever they call it on the roster. The dudes, they can't pick – another team can't come in and swoop them up. There we go. So, yeah, I mean, they're so deep right now at even cornerback, which was a terrible position for us last season, that they didn't even put a veil over Devontae Bosby. So somebody can come in and grab him too. Yeah, I believe in the Broncos, man. I still think they're going to be just dangerous this year. The offense is the other reason. So you're looking at a team that has probably the most lethal 1-2 punch at the running back position if both players stay healthy, which, I mean, Philip Lindsay for the most part does. The big question mark is over Melvin Gordon. And then the wide receiving core is insane now that we got Jerry Jeudy, Cortland Sutton. Tim Patrick is still – he's still number one receiver on the depth chart. So, which when he's on the field, the guy's a game changer. He's a clutch player. Catches when he needs to. Cortland Sutton, there's another guy who got snubbed for All-Pro last year, which is insane. There's the offensive line got better. I'm not concerned about it. I think the defense is still going to be brutal this year.
Okay. So I have Pittsburgh at number one. I am a believer in Pittsburgh's defense. With their trade that they got from Miami, him being in the system for a full season, I think they're just going to wreak havoc. And also, when you look at the Steelers' offense, Big Ben coming back healthy, focused off of all his demons. I mean, he can make that offense really go to where that defense isn't on the field 60, 70% of the time. No, the defense can come in there, pitch shutouts, and let the offense go in there and work. So I think their defense is going to come out victorious this year.
Dude, even with their garbage quarterback play last year, and I'm saying hot garbage, they were still number two in defense. And Mike Tomlin's a monster, dude. That guy gets people to do what they need to do. I mean, you look at – I personally think he's just had worse luck than Bill Belichick when it comes to keeping stability at the quarterback because Ben Roethlisberger falls apart all the time. So
absolutely. And you have no successor to him.
Yeah, right, which they tried. And you think about it, I mean, let's not kid ourselves. Bill Belichick's in the exact same zone. That dude had just had the golden goose for so many years. That guy never got injured. There's only one season the dude had a torn ACL. He was always on the field. And, yeah, okay, so they did all right with Jimmy Garoppolo and Jacoby Brissett. Yeah, they went 4-0 while Brady was out on that wild suspension. But, I mean, without Brady this year, I mean, we're really going to see whether or not that team is worth it. So it's interesting. But All right, guys. Well, that wraps up this segment. So hope you enjoyed. Pardon the mistakes. It happens. So, but
Shit happens.
but I hope you guys enjoyed. We're looking forward to a season with you. So make sure you follow our actual fantasy football segment as we go. We're going to have all of our buddies on here. They're going to be talking a bunch of smack.
And a lot of shit talking. We're going to love it.
Correct, exactly. And then there's going to be occurrences throughout the season. So be mindful, guys. That's the whole point of this pod, is to not just see who you should draft and who you should play and blah, blah, blah. It's about injuries happen. So what can we do on the waiver wire? What can we do to resolve this issue and try and make sure that our team flourishes throughout the season? So make sure that you follow for that. And how do they go about doing that, David?
Again, follow us on Twitter. Follow us on YouTube. And again, like, share, subscribe. If you got any questions, hey, drop us comments so we can get on that.
You got it, guys. Well, hope you enjoyed. This has been another episode of the Uncommon Man Pod. Dude, to be honest with you, buddy, I mean, we're going strong now. We started back in April. And so, shit, man, we've got 5 months under our belt at this point in time. I love it just more now than the day we started, man.
For sure, man. It's been a fun ride. You know, Mike really had to twist my arm and talk me into this, but hey, I'm glad I did.
I'm glad you did too, buddy. This has been worth every single second. So I hope you guys enjoy it. Like I said, continue to follow us along. We can't wait to interact with you as well, and we'll catch you on the next episode.
All right.